I have to be honest with you. When I opened the files for today's deep dives, I actually thought I was being pranked. I really thought, okay, surely they've uploaded the wrong attachment.
Yeah, it is certainly a very unique visual landscape.
Right. I mean, usually we are looking at, semiconductors or the history of interest rates or biohacking. But this looked like a collision between a graduate level philosophy textbook, a kindergarten classroom, and a Korean history museum.
It's definitely jarring. It isn't every day you see Plato standing right next to a stick figure, followed immediately by a cartoon hedgehog, and then, of all things, the cover of Brown Bear, Brown Bear. What do you see?
Exactly. It felt like a fever dream. I almost closed the file immediately. But then I saw the title, Enable Actors by Rhett Burton. And under his name it says Context Engineer. Now, I'll admit my skepticism radar went off right there. Context Engineer just sounds like something a Silicon Valley guru puts in their bio to charge you double for consulting.
Oh, I can completely see why you'd think that. It sounds very buzzword heavy. But if you actually dig into the document, which acts as a sort of functional map, by the way, the title is incredibly precise.
Precise how?
Well, think about a structural engineer. They build the physical building so it doesn't fall down. A context engineer builds the environment in which you experience the building, or in this specific case, the environment in which you learn.
So he's not designing the lesson plan itself. He's designing the vibe, the atmosphere.
It's way deeper than just a vibe. He is engineering the reality the learner actually steps into. The document we're looking at is messy, because reality itself is messy. Burton is trying to map out how a human being moves from simple observation, just seeing stuff, to deep actual understanding.
Right.
And his main argument is that you can't just lecture someone into understanding. You have to build a whole world for them to inhabit.
Okay, so let's walk through this world then, because it starts in a very specific, very famous, and frankly very intense place. We have this image of a bearded guy in a toga, presumably Plato wagging his finger next to a simple stick figure with a blank face. And they're walking along a path toward a sunrise.
Yeah, this is the foundation of the whole thing. The source material explicitly references Plato's cave. Now, I know we all probably skimmed this in college, but for this map to make any sense at all, we really have to understand the cave.
The allegory of the cave, people chained up inside, watching shadows on the wall, thinking the shadows are the only reality.
Right. And Burton is saying that the learner, that stick figure, which the document calls the self, starts in the case. We all do. We all start by just seeing shadows. But Burton introduces two very specific, pretty heavy philosophical terms to explain how we eventually get out. Phenomenal and noumenal.
Yeah, that's right where I started getting flashbacks to Philosophy 101 and almost checked out entirely. Can we get a plain English translation on those? Because phenomenal to me just means really good, like a phenomenal slice of pizza.
Unfortunately, there is no pizza involved here. But think of it like your smartphone. When you tap an app icon, you are interacting with the phenomenal.
Okay.
You see the color, the shape, the swipe animation. It's the user interface. It's what your senses perceive. But you aren't seeing the noumenal.
So the noumenal is the code.
Exactly. The noumenal is the raw code running underneath everything. It's the hidden reality that makes the app actually work, the thing in itself.
That makes sense.
We live our lives mostly in the UI, just reacting to colors and notifications. So the goal of this context engineer is to help the students stop just poking at the screen and start understanding the code, to move from the sensory world to the world of ideas.
Okay, that clicks for me. But then he throws another term at us, welt, which honestly sounds like an underground techno band, but I looked it up and it's actually a biology term.
It is. It's German for environment, but in biology, it refers to the self-centered world of an organism. It's how a specific creature perceives its surroundings. Well, a tick, for example, lives in a very different wended welt than a dog. A tick doesn't see a dog. It senses heat and butyric acid. That is its entire universe. It literally cannot perceive anything else outside of that.
So if I'm the stick figure on this map, I'm trapped in my own Wenwelt. I'm just living in a bubble of my own limited perception.
Precisely. And this is the absolute biggest hurdle in learning. We think we see the world as it is, but we really only see the world as we are.
Wow.
The teacher, or the context engineer, has to break that bubble. They have to expand your on-one-welt so you can see more than just your version of heat and acid.
And how do they do that? Because looking at this map, it seems the solution involves a literal zoo. We've got a tortoise, a hare, and a hedgehog. Now, is this just Aesop's Fables 2.0?
It uses the familiar imagery of Aesop, but the application is deeply psychological. These aren't just characters in a kid's story. They are actors.
actors.
Yeah, they represent modes of cognition inside your brain. Burton is basically mapping out the different mental gears we need to shift into to actually learn something fundamentally new.
Let's break those down. First, the tortoise. The source describes it as living each experience in slow time, deep in presence. It says the tortoise gathers moments and keeps them.
This is the mode we are probably most likely to neglect in the modern world.
Tell me about it. Slow time sounds like a luxury I definitely cannot afford right now.
And that is exactly the problem. The tortoise represents grounding. It's the ability to sit with a concept, to be fully present in the now, and to press that experience into your memory.
Press it in.
Yeah, the document actually uses the phrase pressed into the earth. You cannot learn deeply if you are just skimming. The tortoise is the part of you that actually sits down and reads the whole book instead of just watching the 5-minute summary video.
Guilt heavily taken. Because that perfectly leads us to the hare. The source says the hare leaps across the memory traces the tortoise is pressed into the earth.
Notice the dependency there. The hare absolutely needs the tortoise.
Because you can't leap across traces that haven't been pressed down yet.
Exactly. The hare represents agility, quick associations, skipping rapidly from point A to point C without needing to walk through point B.
This really feels like the mode our current education system and definitely the corporate world rewards the most. Speed. How fast can you solve this? How quickly can you ship this feature?
We are entirely an umwilt of hares right now. We highly value the quick answer, the hot take, the TLDR. But if you are all hare and zero tortoise, you're just frantic.
Right.
You're jumping around, but you have absolutely no solid ground to land on. You're processing information constantly, but you aren't retaining any of it.
So the tortoise is the data entry and the hare is the processor.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
But you need a manager for both. You need something to make sense of the slow data gathering and the fast processing. You need the hedgehog.
The hedgehog is my favorite part of this whole graphic. The description is surprisingly poetic for a learning map. It says, dwelling in its cave of wonders holds them in living tension.
Living tension. That is the crucial concept here. The hedgehog doesn't just choose between being fast or being slow. It holds the paradox of both.
Okay.
It sits in the cave, remember Plato's cave from earlier, and it holds the tortoise's deep presence and the hare's quick agility together.
Until it senses a light beyond the cave.
Right. The hedgehog is the ultimate synthesizer. It's the moment of insight. It's the big aha moment. But notice, the hedgehog has to be willing to stay in the cave to get there. It has to be willing to just sit in the dark, holding that uncomfortable tension, not knowing the answer yet.
That is uncomfortable. Nobody likes not knowing.
But learning is uncomfortable. That's the entire point. The hedgehog is the only actor brazen enough to sit in the raw discomfort of not knowing until the true understanding finally arrives. It turns the other two toward the measure of their actions.
Okay, so we've got this high-level cognitive map. Tortoise for depth, hare for speed, hedgehog for synthesis. I'm with you, I'm nodding along. And then the document takes a massive, hard left turn.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
I mean, come on. We're talking about noumenal reality and cognitive archetypes, and then Burton drops the bomb. The textbook for this deep philosophical journey, it isn't Kant, it isn't Jung, it is Brown Bear, What Do You See by Bill Martin Jr. and Eric Carle.
It is a total shock to the system when you turn the page and see that.
I mean, I have read this book to my nieces 1,000 times. Brown Bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. It is literally a board book for toddlers.
Is Burton trolling us here? Why is this the central text of his context engineering?
He is absolutely serious. Think about the repeated refrain again. What do you see?
I see a red bird.
But focus on the question. What do you see? That is the fundamental question of the phenomenal. It is the question that defines your unwelton.
Oh.
The book is essentially a training manual for basic perception. It teaches the child the self to identify the object, to name it, and then move to the next relationship. I see a bird looking at me. It's establishing the I and the you in space.
Okay, so it's like a primer for the tortoise, learning to actually stop and look. Yes. But there is a massive cultural twist here that turns this from a simple reading lesson into a profound life lesson. And this is where the context engineer really earns his title. The source material includes a graphic connecting the Brown Bear book to the myth of Dangon.
Yes. This was the wildest part of the whole file. There's a slide with a bear and a tiger and piles of garlic and mugwort.
This is Korea's foundation myth. And if you don't know the story, the connection seems totally random. But once you hear it, it changes everything about how you read that children's book.
I certainly didn't learn this in school. Give us the campfire version. What is the deal with the bear and the garlic?
So a long time ago, a bear and a tiger lived in a cave together. And they prayed desperately to the divine king Huaneng because they wanted to become human.
Ambition. I like it.
Huaneng heard them and said, okay, here is your test. You must stay in this cave for 100 days. You cannot see sunlight. And you can only eat these cloves of garlic and bundles of mugwort.
Whoa. 100 days. In the dark, eating raw garlic.
No sunlight, just bitterness and darkness and isolation.
That sounds like a complete nightmare.
It was a nightmare. And the tiger, well, the tiger is a predator. It's active, it's powerful. You could say the tiger is the ultimate hare and has intense energy. But it couldn't handle the stillness. It couldn't handle the deprivation. So after about 20 days, the tiger basically said, I'm out, and abandoned the cave.
Honestly, I am with the tiger on this one. 20 days of raw garlic is about 19 days too many.
Most of us are with the tiger. That's the core message.
Yeah.
It is incredibly hard to sit in the cave of not knowing. But the bear stayed.
The tortoise energy.
Exactly. The bear has that tortoise quality. Deep presence, incredible endurance. The bear ate the garlic, sat in the dark, and endured the painful transformation. And because the bear stayed, she was transformed into a woman, Unyeo, and eventually gave birth to Dangun, the legendary founder of Korea.
That is heavy. So when Burton puts brown bear on the map, he's not just talking about the cute painted animal in the kid's book. He's talking about the bear archetype, the ability to endure the dip in learning.
Precisely. He is synthesizing Western children's literature, which is all about visual perception. What do you see? With Eastern mythology, which is all about internal endurance, how long can you stand the dark?
It's the hedgehog's job again, synthesizing the two extremes.
Exactly. And think about what that tells a student. If you're learning a new language or coding or advanced math, there will be a time when you feel exactly like you're in a cave eating raw garlic. You don't get it. It's bitter. It's dark. You really want to quit, just like the tiger.
Yeah.
Burton is using this map to tell you, be the bear. That discomfort isn't a sign of failure. It is the literal price of transformation.
That completely changes the whole story plays section of the document for me. I saw that label and thought, oh, acting class. But he's suggesting that by acting out these narratives, physically being the bear in the cave, students are actually practicing the emotional resilience they need to learn hard things later on.
You can't just tell someone, hey, be resilient. You have to let them practice it in a safe environment. You have to enable them to be that actor.
Which brings us perfectly to the practical side of this, because this philosophy is fascinating. But how does one actually enable actors in real life? The document has this acronym sitting in the corner, A.B.L.E.
Right. Actions, behaviors, language, emotions.
It looks a bit like a corporate checklist.
It's more of a diagnostic tool for the context engineer. If you are trying to learn something or teach something to someone else and it's just not clicking, you look at A.B.L.E. Usually in traditional education, we just focus on language, which is the facts, or actions, which is the test. But Burton argues you absolutely need all four to succeed.
Let's play this out so I can visualize it. Let's say I'm trying to learn, I don't know, tennis. How do I use the A.B.L.E. framework?
Okay, good example. Language is the terminology. Love, deuce, backhand. You can memorize those flashcards all day long, but you still can't play a game of tennis. Actions are the physical swings. You have to actually get on the court and hit the ball.
Right. I can't just read a book about swinging a racket.
But here is where most people actually fail. Behaviors. This is the tortoise part of the equation. Do you have the habit of showing up to practice every Tuesday, even when you're tired? Do you have the discipline to practice your serve 100 times in a row? That is behavior.
And finally, emotions.
Yes. The sheer frustration when you hit the net for the 20th time.
Yeah.
Or the fear of looking stupid in front of better players.
Wow, yeah.
If you don't address the emotion, if you don't acknowledge that you feel like a tiger wanting to quit and leave the cave, you will never push through to become the bear. A good coach or context engineer addresses all four. They teach you the swing for action, explain the score for language, build your routine for behavior, and help you manage the frustration for emotion.
That makes the specific tools listed in the document make so much more sense. We saw song phonics, journals, and a memory game box that had frogs and hippos and bears on it. I think I even joked earlier about whether the hedgehog wins the memory game.
It all ties back. The journal is for the tortoise. It's for tracking the behaviors and emotions over time, pressing the traces into the earth. The memory game is for the hare quick actions and language retrieval.
And the story plays acting out that Dangun myth is for the emotions, feeling the endurance of the cave.
It is a complete ecosystem. It's called a functional map because it doesn't just show you where to go, it shows you how to travel. It explicitly connects the relationships between the actants, meaning the entities in the story or the student, and the Umwelt, the environment they operate in.
It's so funny. We started this deep dive laughing at how chaotic and unhinged the document looked. But now that we've really unpacked it, the chaos feels entirely necessary because learning itself is chaotic.
Reality isn't a clean, straight line. It's a messy collision of phenomenons, deep emotions, and hard truths. If you try to map it with just a straight, sterile line, you lose the actual territory. Burton's map is messy because it is trying to capture the truth of the human experience.
It really redefines what it means to be smart. I think we usually think smart just means being the fastest hare, the kid who raises their hand first in class. But this framework suggests that real intelligence is the hedgehog. It's the rare ability to slow down, be the tortoise, endure the cave like the bear, and then synthesize it all together.
That's the secret. It's about holding the tension. We live in a world that constantly wants us to pick a side instantly. Be fast. No, wait, be mindful. This framework says, be both, and be willing to wait in the dark for the light.
So for everyone listening to this right now, maybe you are stuck in a cave yourself. Maybe you're learning a new software for work or starting a business or trying to raise a toddler. And all you can taste right now is the garlic. It's bitter and it's dark and you want out.
Just don't be the tiger.
Exactly. Don't be the tiger, be the bear, be the hedgehog. And remember that the darkness isn't a failure. It's just part of the context engineering. But I do want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
Think about your own life right now. Are you currently playing the tortoise, deep in presence but maybe moving too slow? Are you the hare, leaping frantically over traces but not absorbing anything? Or are you finally ready to be the hedgehog, holding the tension of both to find that light outside the cave?
The light is out there. You just have to endure long enough to find it.
I know, I'm definitely going to look at brown bear very differently next time I see it on a bookshelf.
Just don't start lecturing your nieces about the noumenal reality of the red bird. Toddlers really hate that.
I will try my hardest to restrain myself. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. It was a weird one, but I think we really found the signal in the noise.
Always a pleasure.
Catch you all in the next deep dive.